Hi, I'm Eric Stine, the CEO of Sitecore, and I am thrilled to be here today with Mike Svanascini, the president of AmericanEagle.com, and Jon Price, the vice president of the Sitecore Practice. AmericanEagle.com has been around since 1995. Is that correct?
Actually, since 1978.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but started originally Apple II software and then got in the web in 1995.
And you guys have done more than 15,000 digital transformations.
Definitely, yeah.
Tell me a little bit how you got started. You founded it with your brother, right?
Yeah.
What was the founding idea for the company?
So in 1995, my brother ran American Eagle as a consultant company that basically did office networking, that sort of stuff. So one of his customers back then was the Big Ten conference. They're like, hey, you're our computer guys. We need one of these World Wide Web things. So at that time, I was a lawyer. So at downtown Chicago here at 1 North LaSalle, and it was the first internet line in the building, and we actually hosted websites out of my law office. So we started, 30 years ago. We were all young, and, the web was just starting, so it was so much fun and exciting. So we grew it organically since then.
That's actually two things we have in common that we just learned today. We're both lawyers.
Right.
And you didn't know this until you said it. I had my very, very first job in 1992 in 1 North LaSalle.
Oh, really?
Yes, I certainly did. So AmericanEagle.com started with a custom CMS. Talk to me a little bit about why Sitecore, how you got into the Sitecore business, and then Jon, maybe you can talk a little bit about the practice today.
Sure. Yep. So we had our own proprietary CMS e-commerce platform. We were very successful with it. We did tons of college sports teams. We did like 9 NFL teams and businesses all throughout the Chicagoland area. And then we started the DC office all over there. And everything, we really didn't like other CMSs. There weren't really many CMSs around. In 1999 is when we built our first one. So around 2008, we started losing deals to Sitecore all the time. So people didn't want proprietary anymore. So we
actually apologize for that, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, no need. It actually made our business 100 times better. So Sitecore was our first CMS partner. We met you guys at a trade show. It was Sultan, actually, at that time. Went into an account, pitched it together. They never asked us in that meeting whether we had ever done a Sitecore account before. So that's how we started doing other platforms. And today we don't have a proprietary CMS at all. We just do, you're a major CMS player, and we do some others as well.
So talk to me a little bit about how the Sitecore business has grown and evolved today. Jon, you lead the practice here at the firm. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I entered the picture in about 2013. I was our first official Sitecore project manager. Learned very quickly through a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And about 5-6 years ago, I kind of took over the practice. And right now it's one of the largest practices at American Eagle from a business standpoint. And definitely helping contribute to our growth and customer success for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about brand and digital experiences, digital transformation. I had the experience when we very, very first met. I got a AmericanEagle.com pullover, which I'm fond of wearing to the gym. And I walked into my gym in Soho one morning, and unbeknownst to me, the Kansas City Steaks commercial was airing with your logo on it while I had your logo right on my chest. And some guy on a treadmill started pointing to me, hey, that's you. Hey, that's you. That's the power of brand. That's the power of storytelling. Talk to me a little bit about how you think about the power of brand and digital experiences today.
Brand is everything. So we started doing radio advertising in 1998. In the Chicago area, then we expanded to DC, then we tried other cities as well. Now we're national, but by building that brand presence, it's helped our business tremendously. Even our office building, with the signage on it, we get tons of leads because people drive by our building every day. So I think a lot of people don't understand the power of brand well enough. And, luckily my father's always been in marketing, that sort of stuff. He really set us up with that from the beginning when we started this company.
Jon, we've worked together on some of the most iconic brands in the world. Well, right here in Chicago, just United Airlines comes to mind as a brand with equity and narrative. When you first start working with a client, how do you set expectations on how their brand is going to translate into a digital experience? And what considerations do you ask them to think about as you launch a project together?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, when we start working with a customer, the core things that we focus on is number one, return on investment, total cost of ownership, but also just how can we accentuate their brand across the web and across digital channels. So I think one very powerful thing about American Eagle is we dive in to learn a company's business, right? We want to be, as we're at the table with them, we're not working as two separate companies. We're really in it with them for the long run. So this is why we have so many customers for well over 10 years. Like we really think of ourselves as a strategic company, right? We're not order takers. We can be, but we like to be kind of strategic thinkers, forward thinkers, and also thinking outside the box, which I think is why companies like United Airlines has worked with us for over 5 years. Why some of the larger brands around the globe, do prefer to work with us over others.
Mike, you alluded to this before, right? Go back to the days of office networking and then the advent of the internet. And now we are at the precipice of just a new era in technology.
Yeah.
You and I have been fortunate enough to see technology evolve. I'm always fond of saying that I work in an industry that didn't exist for pretty much the first half of my life. As we think about the future, Sitecore's mission is to simplify how marketers reach, engage, and serve their audience. You guys have done a lot over the years to facilitate that simplification, to make technology something that the marketer and the developer can really grasp, whether you're helping lift and shift a customer to the cloud or doing a full brand refresh on a SaaS platform. How do you think about the concept of simplification and how you make it easy for your clients to get their heads and their arms around a changing technology landscape?
Yeah, I think the first step is always the initial build of their platform. And, when you build a platform for search engine optimization, it has to be built correctly. For accessibility, it has to be built correctly. For privacy, for security. So if you start with that architecture and those bones from the beginning, when new things come along like AI, which everyone's talking about today, it makes it a lot easier to apply AI to something that's built well already. And I think with AI today, what we're doing, especially in the digital forefront, is basically looking at every silo of the funnel for the customers. So how is AI going to help you in getting new customers? How is AI going to help you get through the funnel? How is AI going to help you, for the programming of the funnel? So we have people pretty much on each stage of the funnel and how AI can help them right now. And it's amazing what it's doing, especially with search engine visibility and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and just kind of add on to that, I think everything we do at American Eagle is based off, future state flexibility and scalability, which is more important now than ever, right? I think we have a very great, diverse partner ecosystem that also kind of helps us make sure that our customers are choosing best of breed when it comes to technology as well.
Talk to me a little bit about how you think about simplification, Jon. I'd love to hear about a particularly challenging project. You don't have to name the customer if you can, just describe what the challenge was, or something that you're particularly proud of in terms of helping a customer navigate that complexity.
Sure. Yeah, I think let's start with simplification. I think, number one thing we strive for is making our customers being able to self-service, right? We always want to continue working with them. We encourage it, which is why we have customers that have been with us for so long. But first of all, simplification is making sure our customers can self-serve and their customers can also self-serve. We get unique challenges every day. You mentioned United Airlines. We've helped them solve a lot of, very complex challenges. Another organization which we're looking forward to speaking with at Sitecore Sales Kickoff and also at Sitecore Symposium. I won't name them today, but large B2B manufacturer has grown by acquiring over 200 different brands and business units, where I think simplification and composability for them is kind of paramount to their success, where they can spin up a new site within minutes, add their branding, add their logo, and be on their way of developing a new website. So again, if we start with simplicity, we can always work our way to more complex, but I think when we talk about flexibility and scalability, simplification is honestly where we start.
One of the things we like to think about when we think about the future of our platform is we are a sophisticated solution for the sophisticated marketer serving a sophisticated client. The B2B customer that you just mentioned provides a broad portfolio of sophisticated products to a very, very strategic end market. When you've got clients who are trying to communicate a level of complexity or nuance and reach that audience, what are some of the things that you have to think about working through, or what are some of the experiences that you're finding that the clients are challenged by that you can really help them simplify?
Yeah, I think some key points there are starting with things along like governance, right? Organizational change is extremely tricky, can be extremely hard at sometimes. But again, if we break it down into what the end goals are, what the end state we're kind of striving towards, that's where we like to start and kind of drive our customer towards. So it's not starting with a technical solution. It's not necessarily starting with a technical approach. It's like, all right, what are we trying to achieve long term? And then build out a roadmap to kind of help them incrementally get them there. And utilizing things from the Sitecore composable ecosystem has helped our customers, like the one I'm describing, kind of help achieve those goals and milestones. Like going back to the B2B manufacturer I'm discussing, again, acquiring 200 plus brands. They have a large, complex product portfolio, target many different types of industries. So again, we try to build something scalable and then let each brand kind of make it their own and make it specific, right? That's kind of where composability comes in, and letting them maybe choose some one-off technologies that maybe works for their specific brand or what have you.
So you said the magic word for me, governance. Scratch the itch in my lawyer brain. So I'm going to give this one to Mike. As we think about what's next, when I think about AI, I think about data, I think about governance, I think about all these things that are ordinarily obstacles to innovation at scale, innovation at speed. When you have a client that's struggling to navigate between good, responsible governance and moving faster, how do you help them balance those interests? Or is it just a false choice? You don't have to choose between the two.
I think you have to, as a lawyer, you always have to worry. So worrying is key one. So I think, whenever you're talking about AI, that sort of thing, I think the key is to use your own assets for the most part, and try not to get into copyright trouble, try not to get in trademark trouble. That sort of governance is where I start. What are we doing here that we're going to get sued for? So that's how we try to look at everything. And from there, no matter how complex it is, the way everything's changing, the tools is going to make personalization so much better, So, and I've seen the new features, stream with Sitecore and that sort of stuff. And it's just going to make the journey for the average day-to-day person so much better because we already know what they're thinking. The AI knows where they want to go next. They know how it's feeling, and it learns as it goes. So, it's really incredible. So that's where we really start from.
And one thing I'll add on to that as well is, in these uncertain times, and it's going to be a pretty unpredictable future with how fast these technologies are accelerating. One thing that we're doing with customers is doing things like proof of concepts, right? If we have an idea, we don't necessarily know what the actual end state's going to be. Let's try it out and then vet it through things like what are legal ramifications, et cetera. But I think that the term fail fast is a positive one. Let's try something out. If we can, take it to market and then adapt from there. So adaptability is going to be extremely important in these next handful of years for sure.
Let's talk about the intersection between content and not just community and communication, which is the context that we've been discussing it thus far, but commerce, right? I have this concept that the distance between content and commerce is getting a lot shorter, and that the purpose of engagement is transactability. In one of our very first meetings out in Des Plaines a year ago, we talked about solving the damn problem.
Yeah.
And today we're seeing the digital asset repository, the content marketing platform, and the web CMS get closer than they've ever been before, as the contextualization of content to tell your brand story needs to survive. I think we talked about the O in SEO standing for over, because we're in an era of zero-click search, the Gemini summary, the social media algorithms determining who hears what story. When you think about the future and the future of connecting content to commerce in an AI landscape, what gets you excited about the future of creating experiences with content, regardless of what the platform landscape looks like?
Yeah, so I think, we'll start with a few challenges that we've seen organizations struggle with over the course of the past 5-10 years that we think are going to help get solved by AI. Number one is data, right? Organizations have had a really tough time kind of sifting through their own data, identifying trends. The other is content, right? Being able to write new content, adapt new content, especially when we get into things like personalization. I think about commerce well outside an add to cart or a checkout. E-commerce can be any point in the funnel where they decide they maybe want to transact or get handed off to a human. So I think AI is going to help definitely drive organizations solving challenges such as, we have a lot of data. What do we do with it, right? How do we identify trends, and also helping organizations scale and create content extremely fast. You mentioned digital asset management. We've seen a lot of organizations put aspects like that off in the past. I think those are going to have to come to the forefront. Organizations are going to have to kind of get their house in order, because we're entering an era where individuals, their attention span, whether it doesn't matter what channel, is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And the time to actually transact with that individual is going to be coming shorter as well. So
let's double click on that, right? So one of the things that Sitecore has historically been strong in is personalization, particularly multivariate personalization. So let's take the concept of data governance, a very noisy and inattentive digital landscape. Talk to me about how you break through, how you connect with an audience at this point in time. How do we connect the concept of having quality data and that noisy landscape to deliver and to unlock the promise of a personalized experience?
From my perspective, it's the creation of the content now is so much faster than it was in the past. We have a customer that has millions and millions of parts, and now we can prepare that content for like 50,000 parts in about a week to 2 weeks.
Wow.
Which in the past would have been months over months. And because of that AI engine, it's incredible how much faster, because it just wasn't cost effective before. Now it's making it cost effective. So it's making that experience for the user to be able to find that part so much better. And these aren't parts that are, sold a lot and that sort of stuff. They've always worked on their major parts, but this is making the user be able to get the whole picture. Yeah. So if you're fixing something and you need this part, you need this part, it's going to automatically put forth, hey, these are the parts surrounding that part. Why don't you buy these now too, to make sure that everything around there is new. So it's in the e-commerce field, it's amazing.
I love that, because I truly believe that if we are going to shorten the distance between content and commerce, it will be personalized experiences that do that. Those that feel predictive, bespoke, just for you, when it resonates with the audience, when you can reach that audience despite all the noise in the landscape. If you've delivered something that feels personalized, then that connection between content and commerce gets so much shorter. Yeah. What are you the proudest of?
I think, we've built this company by providing great customer service and having great employees. We had 5 employees last year that celebrated 25 years with us. So I think our strength is our people and making sure that the customer service and that customer is always first. And, Henry Ford had a quote that, you don't have to worry about profits if you're focused on customer service. Your worry will be that you have too much profit. So with that philosophy, I think, that's what we try to do. It's a tough market in the digital space because people think it's easy and it's not. But I think that's what we're proudest of, what we've built and the people around us and customers too.
I'm going to tie it back to an earlier question you asked about brand and brand recognition. I think one thing I'm extremely proud of in being part of the journey with Mike and Tony is, we can go to a trade show, we can be walking on the street and like, oh, American Eagle. We know X, Y, and Z who worked with you. And they do not confuse us with maybe a different American Eagle. So the brand recognition and word of mouth, kind of like ramifications of our work is extremely humbling. It's also great to see. And another aspect that I'm personally extremely proud of is, in years past, we were kind of seen as like a mid-market agency, and now we're kind of going up against some of the larger agencies as well in deals and RFPs and winning. So I think there is an aspect of customers that start working with us like, you guys are right size for us. You're not necessarily 20,000 people. You're not 10. You have the expertise of all the larger ones, but you're very easy to work with, and that's something I'm extremely proud of.
That's so funny, because my experience with you guys only goes back a year, and so I associate you with one of the biggest gaming and entertainment companies in North America, one of the biggest industrial manufacturers. My experience of you is, a local Chicago firm that started with the airline next door, and now we're working with customers as far away as the United Kingdom together. Okay. Lightning round before we wrap up. We've talked a lot about brand and storytelling. What's the brand you'd most like to work with? What brand just like you think that they've got a great story that's underdeveloped and you could over deliver, or just they've got such a great brand story you want to be part of it? Like, what's your dream project?
Ferrari.
I love that you had that answer right at the ready too.
Yeah.
I'll go with PGA Tour. As you know, a golf aficionado and having a cousin that's on the PGA Tour, I think the PGA Tour, especially with their current state of live golf, has a lot of work to do, especially with future generations. So that'd be a dream project of mine.
Favorite story, favorite book?
I'm a movie guy, so it's Casablanca or The Godfather are very close for me as favorite movies.
I'm liking the classics.
Yeah.
For me, this is the summer of Jaws, 50th anniversary.
I know today.
Yeah. Literally today.
Yeah.
John, favorite movie?
You mind if I do the favorite story one? Go. Okay. So favorite story. So we were at a Sitecore Symposium in 2019. I think it was actually where we're going back to this year at Swan Dolphin in Orlando. We're in an RFP with United Airlines. We're one of 11 agencies that were part of this RFP where we were verbally awarded as the winner in 2019. We're all super excited. Then something called COVID came along and happened, which put this on a kind of a few-year hiatus. And, Mike and Tony asked me, I think every 6 months, what's going on with this? Is this ever going to happen? Like, just be patient. And as you know, Tony, he's not necessarily the most patient when it comes to things like that. But circle back to 2022, we finally inked our first official project with United, and it's just been a great 3-year journey, right? So it's those hard times and those uncertain times for those couple years, and we've kind of made it happen, and now here we are. So something again, it's probably my current favorite Sitecore story.
Boldest prediction for the future?
Chaos. No.
Not really the tone we want to go out on. John, rescue us from chaos, please.
Boldest prediction. I think with AI, I think we're going to definitely go through a period where we're going to have to figure out how this is governed by different levels of government, which I think is going to be extremely interesting. But once we can get through that period, I think in 5 years from now, we're going to look back and go, what were we even doing and what were we even thinking? I think things are going to be streamlined. Going back to what we do day in and day out, web and digital experiences, I think things are going to be a complete 180 of where they are today in a positive way. I definitely think we're going to be looking at websites in a very different manner. We're not going to be going through what's our main navigation going to be like. I think it's going to be more of like, when this user hits the screen, what do we prompt them to do next? I think it's going to be the next 5 years is going to be a lot of fun. So buckle up.
Yeah, and I would agree with John. It's the AIs. I think we're at the internet right now about 1997.
Yep.
And it's just going to explode from here. So it's going to be a great ride.
Yeah,
I agree with that. It's so hard once technology becomes so well integrated into your day-to-day to remember the world before your phone was a computer, a credit card, the everything in your pocket, the time before websites even existed. Our memories are tricky arbiters of the past. It will be interesting to see how this conversation holds up 5 years from now, when there will be plenty of new things integrated into our day-to-day that we couldn't have even predicted in this moment. I want to thank you, Mike and John, for joining me today. Thank you very, very much for the long-term partnership and the trust. And I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.